Denver. Let's stay with our politics lead. Today, the establishment lost. That's the message coming from Tea Party conservatives in the House after Congressman Kevin McCarthy decided to end his bid for the big job. Speaker of the House, it's just the latest example of outsiders throwing a giant wrench into the establishment's plans. We've watched outsiders such as Donald Trump and Dr. Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina dominate the 2016 race. It all makes the Republican contest, not to mention the speaker's race, and as unpredictable as the plot twists on how to get away with murder. Joining me now from Granite State Manufacturing in Manchester, New Hampshire, the Granite State, is the governor of New Jersey, Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie. Governor Christie, good to see you as always. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be back, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Are you worried about how fractured your party is on Capitol Hill right now? One member of the Freedom Caucus called this a circus.
Well, listen, I was in a town hall meeting last night here in Raymond, New Hampshire, and I told folks that this is Game of Thrones time. This is an inside Washington, D.C. game that I have to tell you the truth, Jake, nobody in America could care less about. They don't care who the speaker is going to be. What they want is a Congress who's actually going to do something. It's going to reform the tax system and put it on the president's desk. Reform, repeal, and replace Obamacare. Get it on the president's desk. Defund Planned Parenthood. Put it on the president's desk. Have the courage to make the president veto those things if that's what he's going to do. Then the American people at least see Congress as working and trying to get things done they promised to do. But as for this Game of Thrones business, nobody cares. They could care less, Jake, and so could I.
But if you become president, this Game of Thrones business is going to be your business. These difficulties we've seen Republican congressional leaders have in controlling members of Congress of their own party, they're going to become your problems. There are members of Congress of your party who don't want to raise the debt ceiling for debts already incurred. How do you convince your fellow Republicans to put governing and, God forbid, compromise ahead of these ideological imperatives?
The same way I've done it for 6 years, Jake, with a Democratic legislature in New Jersey, who every morning wakes up trying to make my life difficult. But you develop those relationships, you lay out a clear plan, and you exert strong leadership, and you work with those folks. And that's what needs to happen. And let's face it, part of the problem of what's going on here is not just inside the Republican caucus, it's the dysfunctional Washington, D.C. that Barack Obama has permitted to happen. This is a guy who doesn't have relationships with Democrats in Congress, let alone Republicans. That's not the way I've done it in New Jersey, and I will take the strong, bold steps that are necessary to bring people together. And I've done it in New Jersey. People have seen it with Democrats. I can do it in Washington.
Let's talk about getting spending under control, which is something you talk about a lot on the stump. Last night in an interview with Public Radio International, Dr. Ben Carson repeatedly refused to offer any specific government programs that he would cut. He said his approach to balance the budget would be a 3 to 4% reduction, what he calls fat, across all government agencies and programs. Now, you've handled state budgets before. Is it that simple?
That doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it winds up hurting programs we don't want to hurt. But here's the bottom line, Jake. I'm the only person in this race that has put forward a meaningful entitlement reform plan that will save $1.2 trillion over the next 10 years in the area where there is 71% of all federal spending, entitlements and debt service. And so I'm the only candidate in this race who's given specific plans on what they would do. They're on my website at chrischristie.com. People should go and look at them. They're tough. They're tough choices, but that's what we have to make to get our budget in balance. That's what I did by reducing or eliminating 800 programs in New Jersey as governor. And I will take the same approach, a scalpel, not a meat axe, to cut out the fat of government and to get us spending money on the right type of things.
Senator Marco Rubio has been criticized quite a bit by Donald Trump and Jeb Bush, among others, for missing a lot of Senate votes. Here's how Senator Rubio responded to those criticisms.
These votes that are happening in the Senate, we're not going to be able to make a difference unless we have a new president and a better president. That's why I'm running for president. And that's why I'm out there every day campaigning. When I miss votes in Washington, it's because I'm running for president.
Is that a valid excuse, you think?
Well, listen, Marco and the people of Florida are going to have to decide whether they think that's a valid excuse or not. But I just tell you, that's the same kind of defeatist attitude that's putting Washington in the place that it's in. I mean, why not put tax reform, Republican tax reform, on his desk? If he wants to veto it, let him veto it. Let's put repeal and replacement of Obamacare on his desk with a market-based, state-based system of health care on his desk. If he wants to veto it, let him veto it. I just think that Senator Rubio on this one misunderstands the positive role that a Republican Congress could make in framing the issues for the American people, so they see a clear choice between what a Republican Congress would do with a Republican president and what they can't do with a Democratic president. So I think he's missing the point on this one, but as to whether it's a valid excuse or not, that's up for Marco, he's the senator, and the people of Florida who he represents.
You've also missed some time in New Jersey to campaign. According to NJ.com, 5 out of every 9 days this year.
Yeah, and I'm governor every minute. I'm on my phone, I'm on Skype, I'm doing all the things that I need to do to be able to communicate and make decisions. And when I'm there, I'm doing exactly what I need to do. When I'm here, I'm doing the job I need to do as governor. And when we had a potential crisis in our state, like Hurricane Joaquin, I canceled my entire time and was back in the state managing a potential reaction to a storm. So I can do these things. I've done these things as governor. It's not like being in the Senate or the House. We have to be there for votes. I'm at work every minute of every day. And unless I threw my cell phone in the ocean, Jake, I couldn't be away from being governor and wouldn't want to be.